Whoa. Now I can tell you what, I absolutely love this. See if I can get it in here. That thing is the red box trainer. This thing will literally rip your legs off and take you next level in your cycling. I'll tell you that right now. If you mix a little bit of anger and a little bit of, I think it's a Spotify playlist called Pumping Iron. I just chose it. Brought back some memories of some Pantera in there. Unbroken. So lots of good songs for a solid rip your legs off set. And anyway, angry thing, pretty much at me. And I'm going to talk to you today about something, the stages of change that I've learnt through a fairly new mentor who we're going to have on the podcast soon. He's meant to be this week. Unfortunately, he got sick, as any parent will know. When a kid comes home from daycare, you sometimes get it. And anyway, his mentor, Todd Herman, and he talks about stages of change. And once I get off this, finish this session, I'm just into the cool down now. I have a podcast to record with Pete. I need to do that first, and then I'm going to come back to you with the stages of change and how you can go from amateur to pro and do what the pros do when it comes to making change. And I know I've made some pro changes in my life, but I also make some very amateur changes, and you want to go the pro way, and you're going to find out about that very soon. All right, I'll see you in a minute. Alrighty, I'm all cleaned up, done my podcast with Pete, and I'm back, and I'm going to talk to you about the topic of change, the stages of change that I learnt from my new mentor, Todd Herman, who, as I mentioned, we're going to have on the podcast next week. I'm really excited for that because we're going to be talking about this, a bunch of things about getting performance, but this alter ego stuff, which I'm really excited about, and something I definitely used back in my snowboarding career, probably even used in how I've got good at triathlon and probably other areas of endurance sport. And something I definitely want to build in towards business, but I think you can do it as well. It's going to help out your endurance game, your triathlon game, and get you better results. But first I want to talk about something I learned recently from Todd, and it's these stages of change, okay? And we all go through these in all types of different areas in life. And I know I've gone through the pro way of dealing with change, and I've definitely gone through the amateurish, and still do to this day. I still screw up and deal with some of these stages when I could really just bypass them, and now I know it, I can commit to that, and I want you to be able to do the same. So we're going to talk about these stages really quickly here, and the first stage is this. It is something that we all deal with, and that is denial, right? We'll do something and we know something is up, but we're going to avoid the topic like the plague. We're going to appear unconcerned. We really refuse to believe something is happening. We're going to nitpick things. We're going to challenge decisions and all these things. And you're probably thinking, as Todd said when I first found out about this, that you probably know somebody that's like that. And the reality is we're all like that to some certain extent. And I think this is really, really powerful. Now, the second stage of change is, like anything new that comes up, there's a lot of resistance to it. And we see this at the moment with this low carb, high fat stuff for triathletes, getting fatted out there. There's so much resistance out there from the typical pathway of, lots and lots of sugary carbs and things like that. But we're starting to see the tides change there, and it's quite exciting. But, this resistance, we become angry, we become sarcastic,
It leads to feeling overwhelmed and even depressed. And we like to lead sometimes a woe is me mentality. This why me? Why is it happening to me? When we're living this, we definitely cannot be held accountable to ourselves, or to anyone, right? We don't take responsibility, and we're putting up the resistance, and it hurts us. The reality here is, what's happening is reality is starting to set in, and we know that change needs to occur, and we see this in all walks of life when people don't change until not changing becomes more painful than the change itself. So I've definitely been there, and I believe I'm even there right now. And you want to jump these steps. The third step is when we decide that change is necessary and we start exploring different avenues. Okay, so now we're seeking to understand that there's different possibilities out there. We attempt new ways of doing things, right? And this is like the triathlete that's done the same thing over and over again, but expected different results, and just get frustrated by their lack of results, but they're doing the same thing, right? They may continually bonk in training sessions or racing, overpace or incorrectly pace events. Next year is going to be different. But the reality is not, because we try and do the same thing over and over again. But when we get to that exploration stage, we start seeing there's new possibilities, and we begin to look forward and see those new possibilities. And the cool thing with this stage is we start getting highly motivated. And then the last stage is commitment, right? We start to commit, and with that commitment, we start feeling more confident that we're in control. We're focused on where we want to go, and that's where we start seeing the momentum build and change truly occur and get to where we want. Now, when I mentioned, and as Todd mentioned, there's the pro way of doing it and the amateur way of doing it. And the amateur way is going through those 4 steps, right? So you're going to start with denial, you're going to get into resistance, then there's exploration, and then we get into commitment. And the reality is, what the pro does is they just miss the first 2 stages. They miss the denial, they miss the resistance, and they go straight for exploration. And that really is a choice, right? And to deny and to resist, that's strong, right? We want to do that. We don't like being proven wrong, and even if we've held ourselves to this for so long, it's pretty easy to go down those 2 pathways, but those keep you stuck exactly where you are, and you get no further forward. And knowing this now, laid out this way, I know I can just make a choice today and jump and miss those 2 stages, or get out of those 2 stages and get to, let's explore a different way. Let's commit to exploring a different way, and let's get the results that we want. So if you're stuck in your endurance endeavors at the moment and feel like you're hitting up against a brick wall, maybe you're scared about this way of becoming metabolically efficient in your nutrition, and but there's so much crap out there's so much noise, and you're so scared about going down this path. Jump in, explore, see what there is, give it a go. You can't really critique something until you've actually given it an honest go. And the same thing with your training. If you're doing this stuff on your own, it's really, really tough, because you're going to second guess a lot. It's going to create doubt in your mind. So there's many good options out there. Choose one, explore it, have a look. Right now at TriSpecific for this week, because it's the new year, because I want people to learn, like Pete and I are talking about into tomorrow's podcast. We want people to learn how to jab more than throwing right hooks. That was a left, by the way. We have good systems that work. So if you want to look into our Ironman blueprints or the 70.3 blueprints, you can get $50 off for the rest of this week by just going to clicking on the onto the TriSpecific.com website, going onto the sales pages for each of those, click through, get to the shopping cart and put in New Year, and that will take $50 off the total price of the blueprints, and you'll be well on your way to making the changes necessary to get the goals that you want in this sport. And we're here to support you along that journey. And anyway, I'm going to speak to you later on. But look at those 4 stages of change. Be smart, right? And miss the first 2. Miss the denial, miss the resistance, go straight to exploration and move to commitment. And you'd be pretty surprised at what happens. And I thank Todd Herman for that. And I'm looking forward to having Todd on the podcast coming next week. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be some knowledge bombs dropped for sure.